Yo, we are back at it again. I'm in my zone again. I'm in my zone. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Today, diving into actually, before I even say this, I'm getting ready for a virtual job interview today. Going into a field or interviewing for a job in an industry that I don't have any experience with. I have experience with coaching this industry, but not like working there. It's like a full time job. But I just felt led to do this before the job interview. So the one that's jumped out to me today for this journal was this one, and it simply says Oracle on the front. And it wasn't until today I decided to go look up what Oracle means, and it means a person that is a person that a deity speaks through to provide wisdom, insight, or advice. That's what the belief was, that an oracle is a person that hears from a deity. That deity speaks through them. They're like a channel through which wisdom is given to particular people. Thought that was interesting, but that's where I'm at today. So let's dive into this. Where are we at today? I don't see so the date on this one says August 3rd, 2016. But on the page prior to it, there's no date on this, but it says opportunity comes to a prepared man. That's pretty dope. Opportunity comes to a prepared man. Kind of reminds me that, or one of my mentors told me that your preparedness attracts opportunities. Yeah, because if opportunity, I think the way it was described, if opportunity was a woman, what would she be attracted to? You know, like women have the things they like about a man or whatnot, but if opportunity was a woman or a man or a person, what would catch the eye of opportunity? A prepared person. So that is pretty dope. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before men that they may see." I'm not sure if those two connect, but I know that this one just reminds me that, the reason we are the light is so that things can be seen. And for me, letting my light shine kind of talks about the testimonies and the vulnerability and the transparency I share online in my videos. Just some people say share too much, talking too much, telling people too much. But when I do that, I know it doesn't really make me look good, but it shows how great God is, how he took someone like me and how he continues to love someone like me. So me and exposing, shedding light on myself helps other people see God's true unconditional love. But let's look at August 3rd, 2016. I was at a group, I used to volunteer at this group called Destined Youth, and Pastor Rick, I believe, was preaching this night, and it says, God will bless you in front of them. That's the note at the top. And it reminds me of that verse says, he prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. A lot of this goes back to what my mentor taught me, not to try to defend your reputation. That was difficult for me, but not to try to defend yourself. Stay on path. Taking time to try to defend yourself might take you off course. And then you ultimately end up, I won't say damaging or delaying, but you end up impacting your destiny in an unhealthy way or in a way that you don't desire to. So don't allow those things to distract you. Don't fall for the decoy. A lot of times people hating on you stuff is a decoy. A lot of times people hating on you is a decoy if you allow it to. Only if you look at it. It's not a distraction if you don't look at it. It's only when you look at it that actually becomes a distraction. Kind of like the male person just walked on my porch, but I'm going to stay focused. It was only a distraction because I gave it attention. That's a note in itself. So leave no room, make no room for the enemy. This goes back to, enemy is sneaky, tries to sneak in, especially through conversations that I have with people. Sometimes when it's like a sensitive topic, being more intentional about my delivery and my tone helps the message to get through untainted. Because the enemy try to get in and get people to take offense, try to get in and get you to take offense, or have you lackadaisical on how you present information. And because of the tone and way you presented it, the person listening can't even receive it. I explained this to my friend the other day about how you ever heard a song and there was so much bass in the song that you couldn't hear the lyrics. The bass is like our emotions. And when our emotions are turned up so high, the lyrics are muffled. You can't hear what's being said. So sometimes I say, I think psychology says if you're in a heightened state of emotions, take 90 minutes to balance yourself, get yourself back to a base so that when you do communicate, the base or your emotions are at a proper or appropriate level to where people can still hear the lyrics, hear what you're trying to say. Doctrine, belief or a set of beliefs held and taught by a church, political party, or other group. This is where I really started. I think this is where I started believing that, doctrine, praise, and worship. Like there's so many religions out there, not just the ones we talk about, but everything is. I feel like humans do things religiously, and there's doctrines that everybody lives by. Some set of doctrines, which is a set of beliefs held or taught by a political party or other group. So, just wrote that down. I guess as a way of just identifying that. And this religiosity and religious nature and this yearning to find a group of people who believe like we believe is worldwide throughout humanity. We're searching for our connections in our groups. We may not call it Christian, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, but everybody has these groups, even if it's a group of one for all the introverts. So Man, let's see. What was the one? In creative, oh, Genesis 1 verses 2. In the creative. Providence, Psalm 104:30. Christ-like, Luke 3 and 4. Saints, John 14 to 16. Church, 1 Corinthians 12. The word, John 16, 8 to 11. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe I need to look up these verses. Wow. At the bottom of this page, it says, are you spending time with God? If you watch my journal Chronicles number 5, it was about spending time in God's presence. And so this one, are you spending time with God? That's being reiterated over and over again. All right, let's move to a new page here. Oh, man. What is going on here? Sometimes your journal, you're like, did I write this as soon as I woke up? Because Jesus, I can't tell what this says. So we are going to stay on task here and get to another page. Transition, help me to simply obey. Yeah, I think in transition, I went to a workshop once and they said that when you're transitioning, the way they said is that you slow down on the curves. When you're in your straightaways, you're getting in your rhythm and you are taking off. You're just striding with it. But when you have to make a turn, you have to shift gears, shift down, or you might veer off the side of the road or run something. But when you're transitioning, just shifting gears and slowing down on turns, and usually slowing down when I know when I'm driving on the freeway and I slow down the turn is to protect what's inside the car and actually protect the vehicle that I'm driving in. I don't want to end up stranded by being reckless on the turns. And I know a lot of times when I'm doing my entrepreneurial thing or my ambition thing, I don't want to slow down. I want to go as fast as possible, as long as possible. But it's wisdom to recognize the terrain that you're traveling on. Terrain can be like right now, we're in the midst of COVID stuff. And so you have to take into consideration social distancing. You take into consideration things being shut down. You may want to go as fast as possible with these hurdles and these obstacles that are there. I guess you can't go as fast as possible, but you have to really understand what possible is and how you identify that with not being reckless. So the terrain, maybe you come from a certain type of family that's not supportive. And so trying to take into consideration that terrain and how to navigate through that in a healthy way, because I can tell you guys often, you don't want to just get to the end of the race. You want to get there a certain way. You want to develop yourself in the process. You don't want to get there broken down, depleted, and empty-handed just to say I crossed the finish line. That doesn't benefit you. That's not the real point of the race. A note says your yoke is easy and your burden is light. That was just a reminder that there's this, I don't say life is easy, but there's this ease present when you're submitted to God. He takes on the God weight. That is the beautiful thing I love about my relationship with God. Like, he can actually do the God things. Outside of him, there's nobody else that I know that can handle God-sized weight, only God. And so when he handles his God-sized weight, it relieves me. When I'm thinking about not having a relationship with God and how much stuff I would have to try to handle on my own that I really couldn't, would make life tiring. And I can see why in some states I have, or other people have, resorted to other alternatives and coping mechanisms that aren't healthy: drinking, drugs, spontaneous sex, and violence. Because really it's a body's way of acting out, because it's just, life is so hard, there's so much pressure, there's so much that I can't do. I just feel out of control. I feel insufficient. I feel all these different things, like inadequate. And a relationship with God really resolves all those things. He's like, here's the human contribution I need you to do. Everything else I'm gonna take care of. I love that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Another thing is to treat people right. There's always a temptation to treat people how they treat you, but that's not the goal. That doesn't bring the beauty and the benefits to my life that I truly desire. Treat people right, regardless of how they treat you, because how you treat people is a reflection of your heart, a reflection of who you are, a reflection of who you represent. And as followers of Christ, as God's creations, I want to do my best to embody his love and his characteristics. And so treating people right can be a challenge at times. It's been a challenge for me. Sometimes I have to go back and apologize when I catch myself, but try to remember that up front. And so maybe in this season, how I treat people is something I need to focus a little bit more on too. I feel like I've been doing a great job, but you can always do better. Or maybe this is a warning of something coming up that you may find it difficult to treat people right, but it's still possible. Maybe in this job interview coming up in a few minutes. You never know. If you read your journal, or if you listen to my journal and something jumps out to you and it grabs a hold of you by the collar, just take a moment and sit with it. Treat people right. All right. I wrote, compare me to none, compare me to none, compare me to none, compare me to none 4 times on this paper. I don't know if that's compare God to none or don't compare myself to none, but both of those sound pretty good. I have to sit with that for a little bit. Compare me to none, compare me to none, compare me to none, compare me to none, with a star next to it. Maybe that was for you. Maybe comparison is a reason you've been experiencing certain things that aren't in God's will for you. Yeah. Maybe that comparison that you're doing in your head is adding extra weight to you and causing you to move slower than what you could be moving. Maybe that comparison is taking up capacity inside of your processor. And so you can't even give things the right amount of attention and energy and effort that you need to, because you're being preoccupied with these comparisons that really won't add any value to your life. Yeah. Another thing on here says, enjoy yourself. Enjoy this process. Enjoy this becoming. No matter what situation it is, find something to be grateful for and do your best to enjoy it. This is a creative power that God has given us and something we should tap into often. For me, I do my best to try to enjoy it. I have a 12 o'clock alarm that goes off and says mental health. And so I try to present myself with a mental health activity every day at 12. Today, I actually thought back on February 18th, 2019, where I went on, I had a sabbatical. I pulled up the video and looked at it and just took a deep breath because I was out by the ocean at a hotel and just let that sink in and allow me just to enjoy that moment. And I have so many great memories logged up in my mind that I can tap into them anytime I want to. I have to remember to tap into them. And that actually increases the joy in my life because it's like it just happened when I think about it. Stay private, need to know basis. Boom, bam, boom, boom, bam, bam. Stay private, need to know basis. I love to share. And when I get on camera, as much as I do share, I run it by God first to make sure it's something that should be shared. There's so much that I still haven't shared. But again, there's a need to know basis. The ministry that God's called me to requires me to be vulnerable and transparent in a specific way, but never feel like you have to do what I do. Share as much as I share. What God has for you to share, He will make it clear to you. There's a need to know basis. Even when it comes to private things, sometimes even the person you're closest to may not need to know. And we may not know why they don't need to know. But if you go to God and He's like, nah, you need to know. They don't need to know. Then just trust that. Trust that it's in your best interest and their best interest. And even like I always tell people, honesty is this. Somebody asks me something that's not on a need to know basis. I say, hey, you don't necessarily need to know that. It's not, I don't have to lie in this command or this advice I'm being given on need to know basis. I just simply tell people sometimes like that's not something that you need to know or not something that I want to tell you. Well, did you do it? Did you not? Or is that something or is it? That topic I'm not willing to, discuss with you. That's an honesty. And hopefully you're talking to an adult who can respect that. Man, is there anything else I want to do before I get out of here today? Wow. Well, here it is. Retention of values helps maintain peace. I promise you, I posted this on Facebook. It has to be 2 weeks ago, word for word. And I did not know it was written in here. Retention of values helps maintain peace. Man. Well, I guess that's a good place to end. Whatever your values are. I had somebody comment on Facebook and say, what do I value that would help me maintain peace and joy? And I asked them, well, what is it that you value? I know that I value peace and joy. And so what else is it that's in my values category that will require me to retain peace and joy and to retain everything else that I value? The retention happens a lot through your behavior. That's where you either absorb, take in, or dispel and lose. And so I know behavior comes from your mindset. And so really it all starts in the mind. Retention of anything first happens in the thoughts that we choose to meditate on and dwell on and exalt to a belief. Those ideas that we push to a belief, those beliefs create our behavior. And our behavior really influences our experience. And our behavior really determines what we're allowed to keep and what we lose ultimately. So retention of values helps you maintain peace. And so I must allow myself to think on those things that are godly and righteous and high above, especially when I'm triggered. Not to forget what I care about when I'm triggered. So maybe that's a good word right there. Don't forget about your values when you're triggered. Don't forfeit your values when you're triggered. Breathe and remind yourself of what matters most, what you care about most. You want to give this person a piece of your mind this moment. You want to act out and do this or give into this temptation in this moment. But remember what you value most and ask yourself, is it worth it? Because saying yes to this could be saying no to my values. And saying no to the retention of my values. So that's it from today, from the Oracle. I hope something was said that blessed you. It definitely blessed me. Thank you guys for joining me and tuning in. Leave a comment below. And we'll talk soon. Thank you for listening.